I want people to know this as well, right? Even on Instagram, you may not have a lot of followers and you may not even have a lot of likes, but people watch you all the time.
They do.
Watch you,
Yes.
man. They're watching you. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't. Think about it, right?
All right. Welcome to a new episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. I'm your host, Norman Kinsey. We have our co-host, Mr. Dan Gandy. What's up, Dan? You got that liquid death? All right. I love it. We before we intro the the guest today, he actually brought it up. So we have some individuals who's watching the show. Now, we love to serve everyone here that's watching the show and really want everyone to take things from the show to apply to their business and hit that notification bell and that subscription bell, because then you'll be notified every Friday when a new episode comes out. And then, you could take what you learn here and apply to your business, which is the goal anyways. So today we have the one and only Chris on the show, and here he is. What's up, Chris? I love what you got going on here. Brand story tips to grow you, your brand, and your content. The Brand Story is a favorite book of mine that I've read. Absolutely love it, and we're looking forward to deep dive into your what you're doing, what you're up to, how you're coaching and serving. It looks like a couple different industries, but I know you have some ties to the real estate industry. So excited to have you on today, man.
Oh, thank you for having me, Norman and Dan. And I'm kind of sad right now though, because I don't have liquid death next to me right now. I don't have it,
Right?
so I can feel like part of the crew, man. I got to get something.
I need to get some too.
Shipped to your house.
Love
Amazon.
it.
Where I got those.
Isn't that
Love
sick?
it.
Dude, Amazon these days, you literally just get so
Anything.
simple. So simple. I have to order some before I'm done with it.
It's a bad addiction. I go through like 3 to 4 cans a day, which is an expensive habit. You can smoke cigarettes and it's cheaper.
Oh, that's crazy. Definitely crazy.
And it's just water, okay, ladies and gentlemen. It's just water. I thought it was beer for the longest time. No, it's just water. I had to put it out there. So Chris, the show's all about you and your business. Want to deep dive into what you're up to, what you're doing. Love the fact that you're really building your brand with stories and really being able to just shine light on who you are as a person and just giving a lot of good tips and suggestions and ideas and things to think about. So let's kind of deep dive into like where you started, like how long you've been doing what you've been doing. What was like the motivational factor behind starting, the Instagram and starting the content and doing the short form kind of head talk content? Like what was the driver behind all of it?
That's a great question. I honestly believe that, our greatest pain becomes our strongest motivation. And at the time I was burning out. I think anybody that's in the service industry or has been in sales, right, especially sales, you got to put the work in, right? Because you could be irreplaceable. And I was in educational sales where we don't get commission like the real estate industry, right? Which is kind of crazy. But I had to learn how to find my space, and I put in hours, man. I put a ton of hours in for the last 5-6 years. I needed to learn how to tell stories because that was the only piece that was going to help me stand out versus the people who were in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years, right? There was no PhD next to my name. So I needed to find a way for people to remember me, right? To be memorable and trustworthy and likable. So I just made sure I started telling the stories that mattered the most to people. And, this really all started probably when I was 13 years old. My mom was a project manager in tech. Early on, women in tech in the 90s.
Wow.
And I remember her telling me that, hey, you're going to need to learn how to, on one side, you're going to need to know the tech side. Of course, very important because that's the direction the world's going in. But on the other side, you need to know how to articulate yourself so that people know that you're the go-to, right? You're the source. And so she put me on stage at the age of 13 in front of 150, 300 people, and I had to give a talk.
What?
Yeah.
Dope.
Right?
Hard knocks, dude.
Yeah, man. I was like, of course, scared out of my damn mind, man. Like, it's a lot of people here. What am I going to talk about that they haven't heard already? Which is very similar to the real estate industry. They've heard it all, right? Most people believe that. They've heard it all. So the only thing I really could talk about was me, like who I am as a person and how my story was going to be different from the ones that they've heard prior. And it was a pretty amazing experience because when I looked up, there were all these people crying in the audience. And I could not believe what was happening. I thought I messed up the entire speaking gig. I thought my mom was going to like put me on punishment. It was over, right? I messed it up. And I remember getting off that stage and her hugging me. And these people came up to me and they said, "Young man, I don't know if that was your first time or if you've done this before, but everybody was connected to you." Right? Everybody felt connected to you. So yeah, that's where it started.
Wow. It's amazing how something like that can really be like the kind of like the root to that tree. And you've just now been watering the tree, and it's now blossoming into this beautiful redwood, or whatever the case may be as far as the analogy is concerned. And congratulations to that. So then, is it now, since that time, has it been like an aspiration to get on more stages and do more speaking engagements, and have you done more since, or what's your thoughts on that side?
Yeah, I've traveled the world. I've had a chance to speak in the Philippines. I've had a chance to speak now. Well, we're in the pandemic now virtually. I've UK, other places now, but when we could actually travel places, the Philippines, all over the US. And I believe that's actually one of the best ways to showcase who you are in your industry, right? Because people get to, it's not just your product knowledge. That's very important. Don't get me wrong. Like if you're listening to this right now, you need to know your product knowledge, because if you don't know it, you're not going to execute, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, when you see that one girl or that one person you like, that partner that you think, hey, I'm interested, and you have all the tools to get them to come close to you and engage. But then when you meet, there's no synergy, right? That's what happens when it comes to product knowledge, right? But yeah, that synergy is not there. And it's very similar to the real estate business. There's people who can attract a lot of views, can attract a lot of people. But then when you get down, you pull it back, you realize they don't really know what they're doing. They were great marketers.
There's a lot of people like that, I think. And it's sorting through the, you scroll on Instagram all day, right? You're like a little goldfish in an aquarium trying to like trying to find the right food that you want to digest, right? And I think that's the hardest thing about social media is there's no, other than a blue check mark, there's no verification process of who actually is an expert.
Yes.
That's very interesting that you say that, Dan, right? Because most people believe they have to be an expert to be successful.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be relatable to be successful. So when I talk to my friends in real estate, I always say, well, what are the stories that are not being told in the industry that you can tell that's authentic to who you are, right? First time homeowners, right? That's an experience. What stories can we tell about the first time homeowners experience that hasn't been told yet in short form video? And then you're standing out. Like, hey, if I've never purchased a house before and you're showing up in my feed, Norman, or Dan, you're showing up in my feed, you're talking about the first time home, buyer experience, I'm going to be more aligned with you. I'm going to resonate with you over someone who's been doing, killing it in maybe commercial real estate. It just makes sense, right? And so being more human, because people desire human connection these days, that's where it's been. It's that synergy that I focus on.
Wow. I love that. And that's why we have Real Estate First Tech, because we can go deeper with you, Chris, and be able to understand you behind the brand. And so then individuals can actually get to hear your story tying into where you're at today and what have you. So congratulations to you on all that. And that's so true. I mean, we had Justin Mercer on the show, and he had to tie into his story. And for the viewers and listeners out there, that episode's already now live during this time. And tattooed head to face, or I would say toe to face. And so he had some flack from it, and he just went into it and did more with it. And I think so many people out there just needs to be true to their authentic, real self and who they are, and just tie into that story and just be real and just be like, this is what I'm up to. This is what I'm doing. And it doesn't need to be like, I'm always like in a bow tie or, looking like a have a way, right? You can always change it up. That's so cool. That's awesome. So I think the last couple questions I have before we go to the mix-up round with Dan is like, what's your thoughts in regards to kind of like when you think about putting your guard down and filming content and being your real authentic self? Like a lot of people have a hard time like being honest or being real. They think there's like they don't want to say something because they don't want their colleagues to hear it, or whatever. They have like more of like maybe a scarcity mindset, I guess you could say. What's your thoughts as far as to overcome, you know, some of the thoughts that someone would have from wanting to tell a story, but having a hard time with that kind of process?
It's a great question. Vulnerability is your superpower.
Mm.
Vulnerability is your superpower, right? Let's. I don't know if you guys are wrestling fans. Are you guys wrestling fans? Or you used to watch it back in the day?
You did.
Right.
Yeah. Million
So,
dollar.
$1 Million Man. Yeah. Ted DiBiase, right? So here's the cool part about wrestling. Wrestling is really interesting, and real estate people can learn a lot from wrestling. You have someone who's a face, which is like the good guy. Like you want the good guy, the good girl. You want to root for them, but you will not root for them unless you're emotionally connected to who they are, right? So that's why the heel, the bad guy, is so important. That heel has to put so much, give so much positioning to that good guy that you start to sympathize when the heel is beating up the good guy, right? And you start booing. You're booing. You're like, oh my goodness, like, is he gonna come back? Is he gonna make that comeback? And when he does, the crowd goes crazy and there's an instant connection. It's the same detail and the same process with your authenticity. You have to create reps. I have over 200, 300 videos that I've never released to anyone because I just wanted to hear my own story. I wanted to connect with my story. I wanted my emotions to come out. I wanted to see how it made me feel. And then I would take all the themes and all the valuable information and details that I've learned from that part of the story and say, okay, I've now connected with myself. I know who I am. I know how I want to function. I know my truth. That's the most important part, knowing your truth. Now that I know my truth, how do I articulate it and deliver it in a way where people will resonate and connect with it? And so after 100 to 300 videos of not sharing that, I started putting it out there. Instagram, people started loving it. And I get a lot of DMs, right? I want people to know this as well, right? Even on Instagram, you may not have a lot of followers and you may not even have a lot of likes, but people watch you all the time.
Oh, they do.
They watch you, man. They're watching you. It's like those fans in wrestling, right? They're watching just to see if you're going to keep going, if you're going to give up, or what's new about you, what makes you stand out. And I get so many DMs of saying, hey, let's work together. How can we do this? And I like that, right? I feel like Batman. I feel like I'm, I feel like Batman, where I'm getting all the things done in the background and everybody else is having the success that they need. And so vulnerability is your superpower. Put the reps in, 300 videos. Listen how, your tone. Think about your tone and your delivery. And once you get that and you start feeling comfortable with yourself, show up on camera.
Wow. I love that. I think last thing I'll say before I give it to Dan is that I like how, like, you have the brand story, you're being your true authentic self and you're building that equity. And at the same time, you're kind of like mysterious. Cause like you have like a mysterious way about your Instagram and just everything that you do that you could tell like you want to encourage people to DM you because that's kind of where like this the sweet spot is. That's where you can start the meaningful relationship and go deeper and talk with the people and talk about whatever it is that you have going on. And I think that a lot of realtors, a lot of people out there need the same thing. You need to think about like, what is the goal between them and their client and how do you want to potentially have that conversation with them? Like Justin said, anything I share, I want the share button. If I post it, it needs to be shared. If it's not going to be shared, then I don't want to put it out there because it's not emotionally moving someone enough to be able to get them to hit the share button. Or for you, someone's not getting emotionally moved enough, then they're not DMing you. But if they are, then they're sending you that DM because they want to go deeper with you. So very, very well thought out play, sir, I have to say. And with that being said, I want to switch up to the mix up round and have Dan go even deeper.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go.
I think let's talk about real estate agents and like finding those stories. Sure. I think there's so much clutter out there. Like when the average real estate agent, you're scrolling, you got your pending sold posts, you got, what they're up to. But as you said, like really being able to peel back that onion and tell real stories is what you're going to get the highest engagement on. And one of those stories that I've been trying to articulate into a reel that I haven't done yet is, and this is just a quick example. is being that agent that gets called when they already made a decision, but they want a second opinion. And it's happened to me numerous times. Like I go into thinking it's a listing appointment. I'm like, God damn it, this is a second opinion. Damn, you know what I mean? Like I'm here just to tell you what your property is worth. And then you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's what they said. Cool. Awesome. And then we already made a decision. And the questions and really I've been playing this through my head because it's happened a few times, is that how you tell that story can effectively help your sales initiative in the future. Because when those types of people see that video of you explaining, like, I am not your second opinion realtor, like, don't hit me up, I don't want to come over to your house, I don't want to print out a bunch of paperwork that is never going to get signed. I think you can build stories that are the problems and the pillars in your business that you're experiencing and use it as marketing to basically build a better sales plan and a better funnel for clients that want to work with you.
Well said. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry to bring that up, but do you agree with that? Like, is that part of your strategy that you are implementing with your clients?
Oh my goodness. I love this example. This is a great example. And here's why. We are taught as service industry experts, right? Professionals, that we have to put them in the funnel, right?
Yeah.
But have you heard of the flywheel effect?
Yep.
Right? The flywheel effect in the service industry is a lot more powerful than the funnel effect. And here's why. If you can educate, inspire, and entertain someone in one story, they are now going to be able to share that same experience with others that are ideal clients for you. Very important, right? So when I put out content, I'm not actually putting out content, I'm putting out experiences. And that's what Dan's talking about. An experience that's so relatable that someone's going to say, okay, I'm the real estate agent in that situation. What does that do? That now speaks to those who maybe if you have a coaching program, you can now bring in new clients as a real estate agent. Then it speaks to the client that's actually going through the listing process or selling process, and they can say, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't do that."
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if we can curse on here. Can we?
You can curse.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Like I feel like an asshole right now. Like we just did that to that guy. Like he was just here to genuinely help us, and that's kind of messed up. I don't want to be that person. And then on the flip side, you have the new real estate people coming in, right? And now you're educating, entertaining, inspiring all three, and now your audience is now being built up and leveraging out to create a flywheel effect. So now they're marketing for you, they're selling for you, and they're branding for you all at once. So I think that's a great example of why that story should be told. And how do you tell it? That's probably the next question, right?
Yeah.
How do you tell it? So you have to tell it in 3 different ways. Pick your platform. Now, most people believe that I've built my entire business off of Instagram. It's a mix of both. Being in real life, like going in real life on stage and talking to people and connecting, and then them following me on Instagram. But right now, LinkedIn is a hot place to be. LinkedIn and TikTok. I don't even try anymore. Like I get on, that's my live stage now. They have an audio room there, and I talk my talk, and then I get a DM. I talk my talk, and then I get a DM. And then they come over to Instagram. So I don't even look at Instagram as the space to do it. If I can get into a live audio space where they can feel my energy, that's what I'll do. So here's what you do, Dan. You go to a live audio room and you explain that situation on what to do and what not to do. Allow the audience to put their value in. Allow them to tell you the details of what they see and how they view that experience. You then take all that information that you just learned, and then you create the story.
Do the research before the real production.
You have to do that because here's why, right? You and all 3 of us are probably around the same age.
Yep.
Where did you guys grow up? Ohio, and where Dan?
California for me, Ohio for Dan.
Ohio for Dan, California for Norm. Okay, Jersey, right? All over, right?
Love it.
We may have a similar thought process, as in like how to do business, but there's always diversity in thought and values. So when we allow our values to all come into one place, then we can give a better story. Right. And I call that the Ferris Bueller effect.
There's the name of the episode.
Think about it, right?
Yeah.
Right? Ferris was doing TikToks before TikTok was a thing, man. Right? He was giving us little reels of what the situation was. Then they would always pan to someone that was impacted by it, whether they were in high school or whether it was Sloan or whoever was being impacted by it, her sister. And then he would come back and tell you how he would solve the issue. Yeah. That's your story. That's how you do it. Live breakdown, allow people to come in, research, understand it, and then come back and give the polished product.
It's funny that you say that, because I was just imagining like some of the most like powerful coaches are like, oh, you could have avoided that because you could have said X, Y, and Z before you met with them. Or you could have asked them that and screened them before you got in your car to go show them comps. And it's like, I know I'm reviewing all of that stuff in my head, but it's like my business is different. I want to navigate the problem to find the solution my way. I do want opinions and help from other people, but there is no way cut and dry, cold, because you may go to that appointment and turn them into a listing, which has happened before, right? True. That's the caveat to all of this, is that it's not so much, I think somebody uses the word like you got out-friended, right? I think that is why I'm bringing this example up, is that sometimes you're not going to mesh with those people, no matter how hard you try, whatever script you use, whatever strategy that you got into their home in front of them, you got out-friended, or they connected with somebody more than you. And so I think it's about increasing that probability by sharing a story. And I was thinking to myself, like, maybe I shoot a really good YouTube video and talk about this, and then I like text it to the prospect the day before we meet.
Why
and
not?
They're like, that's me, sorry. Right? And I'm like, perfect, cancel. Not printing out all this paperwork.
Proactive.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Like the best question or the best statement you can always give yourself when it comes to your industry, if you want to have positive disruption, and that's what I think you're doing with this podcast. You're creating positive disruption in your industry, right? The two, phrases that you can go by is what if and imagine. So I make a video. What if I made the video this way instead of making it the way that everyone's doing with trends? What happens? I might find my space. Or let me imagine what this would look like if I played this role instead of that role. Let's put it out there. And you'll be surprised, man. I have clients that work for really, really big tech companies. I'll just say it that way to protect them. They work for the really, really big tech companies, and they are losing their mind in that decision room. They have no idea how to articulate who they are in this huge machine, right? How do I show that I see something and that it could actually help us? It could actually create positivity, right? But it disrupts the system, right? How do you do that? And I always tell them, hey, if you lead with your truth and you lead with your values, you tell that story in that way, I mean, it's going to change everything. And I can give you an example. I can give you an example of how to do that. Ask me a question, any question, right? And I want the audience to know we haven't been prompt. I haven't been prompted with the question they're going to ask. I'm just going to show you how to use your truth and your values to stand out.
Any question?
And it doesn't matter what it is.
Okay. What is the most disappointed you've been in the last year?
That is a great question. The most disappointed I've been in a year. Well, you know what? The most painful situation right now is knowing that I cannot grow my hair back ever again. And so it has motivated me to find different ways to stand out, because if I just take my hat off, I look like every other black guy with a beard. So I don't stand out at all. But then when I put the hat on, as you see in all my videos, when people DM me, they say, you're the guy with the backwards hat and the beard. Whether it's a pink hat, black hat, blue hat, doesn't matter. I'm the backwards hat guy with the beard.
Love it.
So I use my truth, which is our greatest pain becomes our strongest motivation. And then I just apply it to whatever the question or the industry that I'm in. And that's what real estate agents can do. They can literally apply their truth to old questions, old problems, and bring new life to it in their way.
Yeah. I love it.
Wow.
It's all good, man. This has been a good I like these wild card episodes because, you know, we interview a lot of real estate agents, coaches, tech people, investors, but usually not a technician of strategy. And I think the technicians of strategy provide the most value to real estate agents or professionals, investors, whatever, because you give people an outside of the box way of looking at things and then implement.
For sure.
And I want to say thank you for that, because that's it's a breath of fresh air in a very overcrowded, very stuffy room at times.
Amen.
You just turned the air conditioning on, so thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the opportunity, guys.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I love that, Dan. Thanks so much for taking on that mix it around. And definitely just to kind of unpack that. I think that was great because for the viewers and listeners out there, that was like an actual live exercise we just went through with Chris and Dan, which was awesome. And I just love how, Chris, you shine light on, you know, the biggest pain could be your biggest inspiration and feeding into that. And I think so many people like to run away from pain or run away from, you know, whatever happened in their past and try to just forget it, which I feel like in some points it's good because you don't want to have to be in fear your whole life, or if you're not in the power of now, if you're not in the now, you're in the past, you could be, you know, whatever. There could be a lot of emotions attached to that. So I like how you kind of embraced it, you let it go, but then you used it for fuel for your fire. And now I'm on your Instagram. I'm like, yep, hat. Oh, beanie, hat. Okay. And I love that. And it's just like we're learning things and practical actions that we can apply to our businesses. And I mean, Dan and I could take this and use it too for our everyday life. So you're already inspiring others, Ben, as we speak, just with Dan and I. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course. So we have a couple last questions before we do like to open up the floor to you for, you know, viewers and listeners to take anything from basically the podcast. And so getting into like the brand story and like telling your story, like what was that key performance indicator that was like, that's it? Was it the book? Was it that time on the stage? Like, what was like that like the dots were connected? You're like, all right, this is what it is. And this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to serve with this technique of talking about the brand storytelling.
That's a great question. It all started with purpose. So my wife was about 5 months pregnant, and I was changing jobs, and hey, I needed to make sure that I hit the ground running with this one, right? You know, baby coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You guys know that pressure was on, man. And I remember going into the office for the first time at this new position I was trying to solidify myself in, and it was a marketing gig. And we had to go to this place, and the lady was amazing with all of the analytical tech stuff. Like, she was so good at it. And for me, that was like a foreign language. You know, I needed to learn that, like most of us in the service industry, right? And I remember they told her that she needed to have 5 minutes on stage to speak, and she froze. And I looked at her, I'm like, what's going on? She's like, she started panicking. She's like, I can't speak in front of crowds. It's just not going to work. And I'm like, no, in my head, I'm like, we have to. The competition is here. You have to speak. Like, if you don't, they're taking all of the work you put in over the last year. It doesn't matter if they ace this, right? And she goes, I can't. We got to call someone. I was like, I'll do it. She's like, you've only been here for 2 weeks. What are you going to say that's going to help you stand out? And so I asked her a couple of questions, and I want you to, if you're listening to this right now, I want you to have that pen and paper. I want you to start writing this down. This is very important. I said, what is the history between us and the organization that we're at, the event we're at? And I found out during Hurricane Sandy, they housed our organization because our organization got flooded. They housed us for almost a year. Wow. Pretty amazing, right? I said, okay, all right, that's all I need. She's like, really? I was like, yeah, that's all I need. So when I got on stage, they introduced me and I said, I know you guys have heard us before, but I don't want to talk about us today. I want to talk about them. And I pointed to the people, the host. I said, I said, imagine this. You're doing so well, you're thriving, you're helping so many people. And then Hurricane Sandy comes and everything is destroyed. Every piece of detail to helping people is now destroyed. But then you see a lighthouse, and that lighthouse starts to tell you where to go. And I pretty much said that the host was our lighthouse, right? I said, that's their story, and we're so thankful to be here. But what's more important is to hear your story, because without your story, we can't continue to be lighthouses to other people. Can't wait to hear your story. Come to the table. I was done, got off stage. That line was around the corner.
Wow.
Right? Just amazing that when that opportunity came where I could just tell someone's story and the relationship between the people were emotionally connected. And most people don't realize this. Our audience is very, very smart. They can see the value based on the relationship they're looking at. So they realized that we were thoughtful, we were consistent in our approach, but most importantly, we were grateful for people helping us as well. And I used that same approach for almost 2 to 3 years, and I went from this lonely recruiter all the way to a director because of those type of stories, and I had the highest retention rate in the company. So wow. It's those type of stories that really made me realize that stories are so powerful. It'll market for you, it'll sell for you. Most importantly, it'll allow you to be yourself. And I think we haven't given people the permission to be themselves in our industry, especially the real estate industry, because they see the big dogs or the big women, the gurus, and they see that they're a certain way, and you feel like you have to do that to be successful. Well, I'm giving you permission now. You can be yourself, tell your story, tell the stories that matter from your clients, to the agents, and allow it to grow organically.
Wow. I love that. It reminds me of a quote. People forget what you said and did, but they won't forget the way you made them feel. And with emotion comes motion. And it's so important. It really is so important to tie that in. And I feel like every single time, like just a quick story that I've had like any like large views or comments or DMs or whatever, it's like when you're feeling something, you're in like that emotional state where like there's something going on and you just had like some good news come across your desk or whatever. You just got that new like listing signed. Oh my God, you're over the moon, like taking advantage of that energy, because it's almost like it's like a supercharge. Like you're supercharged. Oh my God, I just got the listing agreement. Oh my God, I just closed the client. Oh my God, whatever. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that for any viewers and listeners out there. So I feel like when you have that moment, just go ahead and just do it. Put it out there. Go for it. I love that.
Yes, love it.
So the last question I have for you is completely off script, off topic. Not that we have a script, anyways. But what does Chris like to do for fun? His family, travel. What are you into, man?
Yeah, traveling is we're embracing traveling this year for sure.
Okay.
I've been to a couple of countries so far with the kids. I have two amazing sons. Really just connecting with them. I mean, I think I worked so hard over the past 10 years where I felt like I didn't have energy for my kids. And I said, you know what? When I started working for myself, I was like, whatever they want to do, we're just going to go do. So if it's jumping on a trampoline park, we're going to go to the trampoline park. If it's rock climbing, we'll do rock climbing. So whatever my boys want to do, I'm down for it. But it's rooting for the Knicks for sure. My heart breaks every time I root for the Knicks, and they're not doing well. So a lifelong Knicks fan, and just helping like what we're doing right now. I really enjoy doing this because this doesn't feel like work. This feels like talking to friends. And Amen. Yeah, man, this is cool. So great question. This is what I do. Friends, kids, and most importantly, giving back.
Wow. I love that, man. And I'm seeing more and more people out there getting to that point in life where it's just like, just want to enjoy, man. Tired of just waking up. And my brother-in-law was over here yesterday and he's just like, I'm done with my job. I can't. He's doing maintenance apartment complex and he's like waking up in the morning and he's hating his life and he's living and working where where he stays. And it's just like, it's too much. So anyone out there listening and watching this, our intention is for you to take these things, apply to
break the cycle.
Yeah, break the cycle. Dan and I broke the cycle, or Dan and I were talking way back when, and Chris has broke the cycle, and if we could do it, y'all could do it too, man. Well, I'm gonna change the camera angle, man, and just you've been dropping freaking knowledge left, right, front, and center, Chris. But what do you want our viewers and listeners to take as we close out our episode that they can apply to their business today?
Yeah. So let's keep it simple. The first, short form video that you can tell is literally your story of why you are in real estate in the first place. It's not going to get the most views. It's not going to get the most comments. The people that are watching, they're going to take note and they're going to remember it. That's the first thing. Number two, support platforms like this. Trust me. If you like platforms like this is amazing, right? Because you have two people who are dedicating their time to seeing you grow. And I can imagine that, like sports, systems are everything, right? If you're in the right system, you can thrive. This is a system. You get amazing guests every week from all walks of life, right? That is so amazing. So support them, like their stuff, subscribe, share it. It's really important. And then the third thing is this: don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to just try and fall forward. You're not failing. You're just doing research. Every time you post, that's research. Every time you try to do a new sales tactic, that's research, and be okay with being a pioneer in your space, right? Because when you're a pioneer in your space, you get to create the blueprint and the framework of how it works. So you're always going to have somebody telling you how you should do it, how you shouldn't do it. The most important detail is this: whether they praise you or criticize you, that should never determine your decision making on what to do next. Period.
Wow, Chris, that was amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm sure now your listeners out there can comment below. What'd you learn? And so thanks again, Chris. That was awesome. And it's just simple. You just keep it simple, man. It does not need to be complex. You don't need to have multiple phones, multiple lights, camera, this, that. Just keep it simple.
For sure.
Be your true authentic self.
Yeah, keep it simple. I'll say this really quickly. Relationships are very important, right? The relationship economy is failing because people don't realize that human connection is a desirable need right now, right? It's so people are desiring it. And if you could just show up as a human being, you don't know how much that reward, you'll get double reward later on. Trust me, it definitely works. When I went to the Philippines, it was just out of love to go speak. I didn't know I was going to share a stage with an ex-FBI agent. I didn't know I was going to share a stage with a military YouTube star. And I didn't know I was going to have press in Yahoo News because of it. I had no idea. I just did it just because of the strength of it, right? I love what I do. Do you know when I finished speaking in the Philippines, there was someone who represented the Philippines in DC that was there.
Wow.
And he said, "Young man, I've never heard anyone speak the way that you speak. Would you like to do an entire tour of the Philippines to speak to all of our leadership?" Right? So your intentions are very important. Build the relationship first. Everything else will follow.
Boom. Wow. Chris, you're amazing. Thanks so much for being on the show. Congratulations to you, your success, your family. And before we even on air, he invested with his wife's salon company and they've now took 8,000, turned into 100,000. Check out Chris. Links down below. Follow this man and his wife. Dan, as always, thank you for co-hosting.
Great to meet you, Chris.
Great to meet you as well.
Yeah.
And to all our viewers and listeners, we hope that you could take things from our episodes to apply to your business, have more massive success. Now you could comment below. If there was enough value there, you can subscribe, hit that notification bell.
Sure.
And we would love, because we're sponsoring, Real Estate First Tech is sponsoring West Extra Real Estate October 5th and 6th. We'd love to see you there as well, online or in person, to add even more massive value to you, to your business. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching Real Estate vs. Technology, this week's brand new episode, and making it to the end, your real one. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified for new episodes that come out every single week on Fridays at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Also, if you comment on this episode and you like the episode, you'll help this episode get out to more individuals. And if you want to join our Facebook group page, just click a link. It's a Facebook icon on our profile page here on our YouTube channel. Join our group page, network with individuals all across the world, and share what technology you're using to grow your business. The next link is to join our Real Estate vs. Technology brand new IG or Instagram page. If you go on any of our stories, you can see who's going to be on Real Estate vs. Technology before it actually goes live on our YouTube channel. And the last link would be if you want to be on an episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. You pick a date and a time. We'll deep dive into your story and technology you're using to share that with other individuals that view our episodes weekly to inspire, enlighten, show up, and show out for people that love to watch these type of podcasts to have more success in their own business. Thank you so much for your continued support. We appreciate it. We will see you on the next one.